So lately, I had a thought. I've been bored out of my mind, and it actually led me to a really interesting thought path that I want to share. We are so much less bored than our ancestors were, but we are much more afraid of boredom itself. Boredom is something that most of us try to avoid at any cost, and we are so afraid of it that we get into a spiral of doing whatever comes to our mind, just to not be in the scary state of boredom. Facing all these undesired thoughts that occupy our minds can be really tough. But let me tell you this now. Boredom is actually one of the best things that can happen to you, and it has changed the life of so many individuals. Like, look around you. Right now, we are definitely living in a time where everyone else is constantly trying to escape boredom. Most people are trying to fill their time with meaningless activities. They would rather do anything to be bored. And yes, I've been there. I'm also guilty of this. And let's face it, you probably have to. I'm guessing you're very similar to me, and that's why you found your way to this video. And that's why I'm speaking to you directly. So from my past experience, I know it's very scary to be alone with my own thoughts. Maybe my thoughts are really f***ed up. I really do hope that's not the case, but it was really scary to be alone with my own thoughts because I was in a really dark place at some point of my life. So boredom can be indeed very uncomfortable. Like, most people can't even go to the bathroom without taking their phone with them. Every minute, hell, every second of silence scared them so much that they can't even go on a proper date with anyone anymore. And even hanging out with their friends without having this phone in their hands all of the time. By constantly trying to escape boredom, you will create an inability to stay alone with your thoughts. As a result, you will lose touch with yourself and what you want in your life. Your creativity will most likely go down all the way to zero because you don't give your mind any time to think. Like, think about it. How are you supposed to come up with an amazing idea if you're keeping yourself busy with all these given distractions around you? The answer is, you can't. Escaping boredom, or phrasing it differently, keeping yourself busy with the things you don't need in your life, will largely impact your focus. If you constantly numb yourself with activities that create a large increase in your dopamine and pleasures, everything else will seem so boring and meaningless to you. Let's say, for example, you really like to watch movies that have like a deep story behind them, but you lately have started to watch movies that have like these rapid transitions, explosions, have fancy edits, and have really quick tempos to them. Not that I'm talking about any car movies that might have way too many sequels to them. Definitely not talking about these ones. Anyways, after you watch these kinds of movies, you just can't keep your focus on these meaningful movies anymore. Because yes, they seem so much more boring than these other movies that you watched lately, right? However, if you spend your time alone bored, being with your thoughts, most of the things that might have seemed too boring to do before gradually start seeming more easier to execute. Like studying, building a business online, and other similar tasks have much less mental friction to execute because they are all way more interesting than just sitting alone with your thoughts. So where am I going with this? See, your procrastination attitude would simply disappear when your alternative to procrastination would be doing simply nothing. For example, if you scroll Instagram or TikTok all day long, it becomes even much harder to focus on a video game. It's actually crazy to think how much further away scrolling social media, for example, can take you from simply being productive and achieving things in life. Newsflash, boredom never is completely exciting. Meaning it doesn't bring massive amounts of pleasure, but it completely can and will change your life if you start using it to your advantage. Boredom actually is what leads you to understanding and analyzing yourself. So it leads to your mind going into this creative state of flow, coming up with new ideas that you have never thought of before. It's just like I described in one of my previous videos where I was staring at the wall. This is super crazy, but it works. Now I want to talk to you about some of the greatest people in the world and how boredom led them to come up with crazy revolutionary ideas and thoughts that changed the world forever. The first person who I want to talk about, I think you have heard of him, is Sir Isaac Newton. And if you haven't heard of him, then let me tell you a story how boredom led him to discovering gravity. Newton's discovery of gravity is one of the most important things of all time. And who knows where we would be in the world of physics without his amazing discovery. I would go even as far as saying that Einstein's theory of relativity wouldn't be discovered and thought about.
I agree.
Like, think about it. Without the creation of the wheel, for example, would we have cars in the first place? Would we? Our world really is like a crazy world of circles, isn't it? So if you have ever wondered how is the connection with apples and Newton, let me tell you the story. As the story goes, Newton was sitting under an apple tree in his garden, bored out of his mind, when an apple fell from the tree and hit him on his head. Ooh. This event caused him to think about the force that caused the apple to fall in the first place. It's mind-blowing that nobody else thought about that before. But okay. So he began to wonder if this force that made this apple fall would be the same force that keeps the moon orbiting around the Earth. Newton went on for the next few years of developing his theory of universal gravitation, and he eventually realized that the force that caused objects to fall towards the Earth is the same force that keeps planets orbiting around the Sun. Cool, right? After more research, he also developed some mathematical equations that describe the relationships between the mass of two objects and the force of gravity between them. All because he opened this door to boredom and let that apple to fall on his head. The discovery of gravity is really hard to overstate. It truly did revolutionize our understanding of physics and definitely laid the foundation to modern physics. It also had a profound effect on other fields of science, including astronomy, engineering, and even biology. The main lesson that we can learn from this story is to sit under an apple tree. Just kidding. Is that being bored and letting your mind go wandering and questioning things can lead to really great things. Maybe you won't discover gravity anymore because you know it's discovered already by Newton, but you definitely will discover something within yourself, and maybe you will discover something really great. I really hope you do. You see, Newton was not afraid of being alone with his own thoughts. There was also no social media 400 years ago to keep him distracted, but there definitely was other kinds of distractions as well.
Man, I see kids everywhere with those stick hoops lately.
Nowadays, these situations are less likely to happen though, because people are really losing touch with themselves, with nature, and they don't want to spend time alone in their own mind. Similarly to Newton, James Watt came up with the idea of a steam engine while watching a kettle boiling over in his kitchen. He was bored and became distracted by the sound it was making. Crazy times. He looked at the kettle and thought it was an ineffective and wasteful way to generate steam. And by the way, during that time, steam engines were already in use, but they were extremely unreliable. So when he got bored and looked at that inefficient steam kettle boiling over, he set up to create a more efficient steam engine that could have a wider use in the world, from powering large factories to powering even larger ships. Watt's upgrade had a profound effect on how we see the world today. This is yet again another great example on how boredom led to something really great happening. Lastly, I want to give one more example, but this is about a person who has been much closer to modern days and has shaped the lives of billions with his revolutionary ideas. Can you guess it? And yes, it is Steve Jobs. Not this dude, but you get what I mean. He was famously known for coming up with innovative ideas, and it is said that he did some of his best thinking while he was bored. For example, did you know that Steve Jobs came up with the idea of the iPod when he was sitting on the plane? And this was all because he was super bored of the entertainment options provided on the plane. Great philosophers have also a lot to say about boredom, and I'm going to quote one of them. Friedrich Nietzsche told that he who completely entrenches himself in boredom also entrenches himself against himself. So, just be bored. And don't get me wrong, you don't have to be lonely. Just every now and then, be alone. Enjoy your own existence and learn to not be bored from it. Use boredom to try to find your true self and try to practice mindfulness and focus on the current moment. I did a test run on this by accident in the past and I discovered meditation, and what I learned from the process was short from amazing. So if you wish to know what happens when you sit down and stare at the wall in boredom, then go check out this video. And I do appreciate you being here. It really means a lot. It truly does. And I'll see you over there. Catch ya.